All right, so I am back after surviving Attack of the Microphones Part 2, Dylan Dennis's Revenge. As you guys know, in the last video, we broke down some Jake Paul sparring footage for the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. Coming up November 15th, live from Arlington, Texas. I will be there with my dad, Leo. Show a picture of Papa Plin. We will be there live from the venue. We're trying to work out some details on guests, still figuring that out. But just remember, November 15th, right here on the W.A.D.E Concept live. We're doing a watch party all night long for the Paul Tyson card. I'll see you guys then. But today we are going to take a look at Jake Paul's opponent. That is right. Some guy you may have heard of, you may not have. Just, what is it? Mike Tyson. At one point, the baddest man on the planet. And while I've had my thoughts about how this fight goes and what I think goes down, I may be persuaded to change my mind because Mike Tyson just dropped new training and sparring footage. And as much as I think we, and I mean me in the rabid comments section that's going to chomp at the bit to type the one thing that I'll continue saying, which is that Mike should not be fighting at 58 years old. Mike Tyson is a different 58-year-old from probably anybody else ever, especially when it comes to boxing. So can he push his body through? Can he still get what's left of a legendary boxing ability, talent, skill, development, body, athleticism, all built for this sport to transition into a win for him versus Jake Paul on his pro record in the middle of Jerry World in Dallas, Texas? I don't have those answers. But some of this footage, like I said, could be deceiving, but also makes you think. So what do I mean? Can Mike Tyson actually pull this off? Can he beat Jake Paul after, quite frankly, a lifetime out of the sport, after a lifetime in it, and about 6 months to train? I don't think so, but maybe the footage says otherwise. Let's take a look. Mike Tyson sparring and training footage, the breakdown. Let's go. So Jake just a couple of days ago put this video out where he drops his sparring partner.
Don't charge at me, Tyson.
Don't charge at me, Tyson is his verbiage that he uses after said dropping of sparring partner. So Mike comes back in the tweet and says, oh, I can't wait for November 15th. I'm charging right through you. Listen, even if I don't believe that Mike is able to do that, just, again, it's on Twitter. It's not like Mike is saying it, but still, the aura of Mike Tyson saying that is just goosebumps. He would do that to a lot of people. Do not get it mistaken. And again, it's a fight at the end of the day, but let's take a look at this and see. Okay. Still got some of that there. Okay, so let's go music off. All right, so we see Mike working the heavy bag. And what's cool about what Mike does is he writes down all of his punches and where he wants them to land on the bag, which I think is so cool. It's been one of the staples, I think, from Custom Auto way back in the day, for Mike to be able to land those punches in the correct spot for his height and, you know, for his style of boxing as well. So you see them all numbered. I think it's 1 through 7 he has numbered there, but as you can see, when we start this, it starts with the double jab, the hook, the right hand, the hook. And you see when Mike is throwing here, you see a lot of leaning in, right? Like putting his weight forward. I mean, damn near not even over his knee, but completely over his toes, like just leaning forward. Bah, bah, bah. But his ability to throw combinations, even at this age, even at 58, still relatively quickly, allows him to get so much forward lean. And he's already simulating that he's in the pocket here, right? So he has that incredible forward lean that you just really don't see out of a lot of guys, but he's attacking the bag. And one thing that you'll notice about old school boxers, because let's just look really quickly, right? Let's just look at Mike's bag work, even if it's not, you know, Mike from old, that bag work versus Jake Paul's bag work. Do you see the difference in the ability to attack the bag? Right? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. You can see just the difference in the way they throw and the violence behind the punches Mike Tyson throws, and more of the technical, you know, foot movement, head movement, balance. Nothing really overthrown here from Jake. He's just really touching the bag. But you can see the level of commitment. That's the word I'm looking for. The level of commitment from that to the way that Mike Tyson attacks the bag. It's a completely different style in which they throw. And this is something that's very interesting. Old school fighters, and this is what I was going to say, old school fighters, when they train, when spar, when they shadow box, they do it 100%. And I'm not saying that new school boxers don't, some do, but you see very much now like a technique-based way of fighting, which is also reflected in sparring. It's also reflected in the way they hit the bag. It's also reflected in the way they shadow box. You don't see that level of commitment. Like even here, look at Mike Tyson when he was shadow boxing back in the day. Just shadow boxing. Watch him move. Just look at the movement, right? The full commitment to the shadow box. That's a fight. He's fighting. He's throwing punches like he's in a fight, right? Like that looks identical to the way Mike Tyson threw his punches. Maybe his hooks are a little shorter here, but that's exactly what you would see out of a fight from him. And it conditioned him, right? It conditioned him to throw those same punches in a fight and not get as tired. Which is, again, it's interesting to see that even at 58, that Mike is still able to, again, he doesn't move like that. I don't think anybody is saying that. But even at 58, he's still throwing with that intent. He's still moving with that intent, right? The ability to hit the bag, move around, again, like a 58-year-old Mike, but still with the intent to throw 100% behind things. Like, he's not taking some steam off these punches. The point I'm trying to make is, this is 2-minute rounds. And I know that people are going to watch this video and go, oh, here's W.A.D. trying to convince. No, I'm looking at this objectively and saying what I see, which is a difference in the way they train. Not necessarily in the way that they spar yet, because we'll see, but here's Mike sparring, and this is a little bit of a different story, right? You see him, again, these are very short clips, and I know that's another thing that we've criticized, that Mike has short clips, that they're not, you know, full clips of him sparring. I don't want to see full clips of Mike Tyson sparring. I don't want to see full clips of Jake Paul sparring right now, because it would give away a little bit of the mystique of what's going on here. And also, I don't think either of them want to give full clips out of them sparring because they're about to fight. Like, Jake's clips were 13 seconds, 10 seconds. Still made a 20-minute video out of it, though. No, my point is, you don't need to put out all this full footage and stuff. In fact, Jake's not doing it either, so it's not just Mike. But when we go through this, you see some head movement, you see some shots across the guard, but what you do see a lot of is Mike's body trying to keep up with his mind. At least that's what I see, right? Because these are the same entries Mike Tyson used to take, right? Off the jab, boom, roll underneath, get his weight onto his lead leg, come back up, jab, right hand, and then usually a left hook behind that, or maybe a left hook and then the left uppercut or whatever. But you saw Mike move like this, very squared up, head off center line, trying to slip and roll punches, right? He actually tries to slip what I think is just muscle memory outside of a right hand and roll underneath the jab, then come back, jab, right hand. And he does it again here. You can kind of see the other side of the angle. I don't know if this is the same angle, but you see him jab, right hand, again, just like he hit the bag. How you practice is how you play. And again, it's lunging in, which I do worry about because Jake does have a nice uppercut. He does have a nice left hook. He does have a nice overhand. But it is Mike charging forward, right? Just coming into range. And it is behind the jab, but still there are pockets here where he definitely is open, but 4-punch combination there. This is what you like to see from Mike, right? If you are looking at, you know, the best approach to what you want to see from Mike Tyson, it's this. It's moving in behind the jab, behind that shoulder. Now, again, he doesn't get to the target he wants to. And again, I think that's more so his mind commanding him to do what he was able to do, and maybe his body just not being able to get there, because old Mike would be able to pop that jab a couple times and close this distance where his sparring partner does a good job framing here and getting himself away from the danger. But then Mike follows right back up and goes jab, right hand. He is reaching for this right hand a bit and falling in behind. I think that is the biggest difference. Not that Mike didn't do it. I think that the glaringly obvious big difference here is that because he is 58, that this lunging in is his way of compensating for not being able to close that distance and remain on balance and then get to the spots, whether it's because his knees or because just he doesn't have the explosiveness, which I've tried to tell you guys is the big reason that Mike Tyson was able to put guys out flat as an undersized heavyweight. Yes, he was strong. Yes, he had, you know, power in his hands, but his feet, his footwork, his explosiveness to get there was a major reason for Mike's, you know, ability to adopt the Pkwy style like he did. And you're just not seeing that same pop here as a 58-year-old. And again, this is where you worry a little bit. If Jake is covered up in the high guard, then you got no problems. Cool. We're here. This is what you want to see from Mike. You want to see him close this distance and be inside where I would call the safe zone. Because at range, I think he can get picked apart a little bit. And definitely if this is how we're entering, right, with this lunge in and just looping right hand behind it. But once he's there, I think Mike can be a killer here. And then he tweets out, this is the next day, no, 2 days later, the big clip that we've seen so far from Mike. It says, I'm just getting started. Again, we'll watch it through and then we'll come back and look at it.
Nice left hook.
Woo!
Was good for today.
Yeah.
I truly believe.
You sure?
Yeah, me
Yes.
too.
You fucking sure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. You sure?
Yes.
You fuck with me, it's all
Yes.
right?
Let's do this.
You did great.
We're done.
We're gonna do it.
You sure?
Yes.
Yeah.
Trust me.
I got a lot in me.
Work, boy.
Just getting started.
Woo! Woo, shit. That right there, man, that just does something to you. Again, as much as I don't believe that Mike is going to be able to sustain a high-level attack for a very long time, I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for words, because that right there is it's inside of Mike. That's what you saw in the 90s and the 80s from Mike, and that's something as a kid that, you know, I didn't necessarily get to see a lot of, is that mentality that Mike carried. Yeah, you heard about it in interviews. Yeah, you heard about it in Joe Rogan Experience, and you could go back and watch those fights and hear Mike talk about it then, but to see that come out of him in that moment is really, really dope. But you also see another part of Mike in these last little bits where he's talking. We'll get to the sparring as well, but you see him look at Rafael Cordeiro, and he's genuinely concerned. He's like, am I doing good enough? Is that what I needed to be doing? Are you sure? You're not fucking with me. That's good. Are you sure? Like, he's still questioning a little bit if he still has it. And I love that. Obviously, it's not the greatest thing, again, for a 58-year-old Mike to be fighting. But fuck, man, I mean, he's doing it. And if he is doing it, he's trying to convince himself, or he's trying to look for that external convincing of, do I still have it? He's trying to answer that question. And honestly, yeah, it does sound like a little bit of a concerning thing, but to be able to be honest and ask that question and have those thoughts out loud and on camera and all that, I think it's a good thing. It's real. It's the truth. Not hiding from it. He's there. Woo, that gets you fucking fired up. And this is why it's a small part of me, because I do think Jake wins this fight, and I do think it gets, you know, pretty ugly if Mike does get tired, which I fully expect him to do at some point, even though that is 2 minutes. We still have, what, 8 rounds, 10 rounds? I don't remember. 8 to 10 rounds? I think there's going to be a fall-off point. But you see Mike again working inside, right? He's already inside. Left hook, right hand. I mean, again, it's enough of a right hand to get his opponent off balance. Sneaks the left hook through, maybe doesn't land clean. Then there's a nice right hand that lands clean. But this is what I want to look at. It's Mike's entries, because these will be the moments where Mike has a shot, in my opinion. His entries into range. If he can enter into range, make Jake miss and make him pay, hurt Jake, and now he's on the inside where things are a little less dangerous for him, and Jake's a little hurt already, this could be the moment where I rethink this entire equation. Like, this could be the, oh shit, Mike got him moment, right? Like, imagine where you were when Francis Ngannou hit Tyson Fury with the left hook and dropped. How many people predicted that? I'll give you the answer. It was, as a percentage, damn near 0. If that is to happen, right? If Mike is to take this entry, right? Jab, level change, right hand doesn't land, but all he's doing here, and again, I'm not saying that you want to get hit like Mike does here. He kind of gets framed on, but I'm sure Jake is throwing the jab there. He's throwing the hook there. Or if this isn't against the ropes, he's maybe looking for that overhand. But all Mike's trying to do is get to this position, right? And Mike was very squared up in that peekaboo stance for his entire career. And it was just so he could get to where he could hit you with either shot, and they were power hands. And he had balance in both those shots. He's essentially turned an angle here, and when he does, boom, big left hook right on the button. I saw some people said, oh, there's a left hook to the body. No, he destroys that man's face and nose with a nasty left hook on the recoil and sits his sparring partner to the ropes. That was nasty. That's a 58-year-old man dropping, you know, I don't know how the level of this opponent. I don't know the age of him, but that's another heavyweight, big boy, and what looks to be pillows. 18, maybe 16-ounce gloves. Big time stuff. And then obviously you have Rafael Cordeiro reminding him that's good enough. But that's a lot of momentum and a lot of power and a lot of muscle memory. I'm just saying if that happens, holy shit. But then we have this, which I think is really cool. Mike is in camp, and it says Muhammad Ali's longtime manager, Gene Kilroy, stopped by to see how Mike's getting on with training. Now, we're not going to play this entire thing, but I am going to skim through it for you because there's some really cool moments. One of the first ones is Gene talking about how no one actually beat Mike. How Mike beat Mike. Let's take a listen.
I was just telling him, the only one who ever beat Mike Tyson was Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
Down the bullshit. The fuck you don't want to hear it.
I do hear it.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it because I know it.
Yeah, okay.
No one knows the
We'll
best
tell you
reaction.
something. Okay.
Tell me something I don't know. I know I fucked up.
Gene Kilroy, you don't know.
So I find that very interesting. And you know, when you look at it, the whole interaction there, Mike is saying, tell me something I don't know. I know I fucked up. He's kind of right. You know, like, as much as I don't think Mike Tyson's the greatest heavyweight ever, I think he could have been. Think about it. You know, Mike had the ability. He had the mental fortitude. He had the intimidation. He had all of the things that you wanted out of a heavyweight champion. And he was young. And then, obviously, you know, Customato dying was huge for Mike's motivation, for, you know, Mike's meaning as a heavyweight. And also, the Buster Douglas loss made him a little less invincible. And some of the heavyweight division started to open up to potentially, you know, a Mike Tyson fight. And then obviously Mike goes to jail. In the Holyfield fights, I thought Mike wasn't the best version of himself because of the jail time, obviously. But also, you know, Evander Holyfield's one of the best ever, but he was on the juice. I'm sorry. Evander was on the juice, and I don't know why no one ever talks about it, but that was a major factor in those fights too. But, you know, Mike obviously biting the ear, and he would self-sabotage when he was in positions where he was not winning. So while I do agree that there could have been a version of reality, let's say we're in the multiverse, where Mike Tyson, had he stayed on the straight and narrow, had he, you know, had Cuss not died, had he not gone to jail, these things happen. I do like the idea that Mike understands that he could have been better.
This is the strongest I've ever seen you.
Yeah?
Yeah, the strongest I've ever, and I know you since you're 13. I think this impressed the shit out of me. Nothing impresses me. You know, I'm gonna tell you.
Jesus. I know he's 58. Look at the fucking unit that is Mike Tyson at 58. And listen, again, how do you have the will, the drive, the muscle memory, just the ability? He was at 300 pounds. He was gigantic. And again, this was years ago, but still, it's incredible, man.
1 second.
It's just like that.
That is, again, it's just bag work. I get that, but that is incredible to me. And maybe I'm glazing, whatever, but to move like that at 58. Yeah, okay, it looks like an older Mike, but it doesn't look like a Mike that is so far removed that he forgot. Like, it doesn't look like he's still trying to learn. That looks like an older version, yes, of Mike Tyson, if that makes sense. Look at some of these punches, these combinations, the weight transfer, the power behind it, the short punch that he doesn't overextend, and he's not reaching for the bag, he's sticking the bag. Bang! Weight transfer.
Yeah, so far.
He's working on this combination, right? He's working on right hand, transfer weight, left hook. Hi!
Exactly.
And again, working on it. Boom, boom, boom. Woo! And speed. For those that think I'm glazing, and again, I know that you're not fighting Jake Paul, I understand. Go out and land this combination on your heavy bag right now. You go do it and tell me how fast you land that shit with that amount of power. Go ahead.
1 second.
Go ahead. That's good stuff, man. And again, I'm not saying, I'm just saying that looks more fluid with, again, what we talked about at the beginning of the video, the intention in which he's hitting the bag. He is not hitting that bag with the intent to touch it to set up a big punch. Every punch is a big punch. Every one of them. 100% effort behind punches. This is so key to what, if it's possible that Mike Tyson can win this fight, will be a difference maker to me. It's not the fact that Mike's gonna throw crazy amounts of volume. It's not the fact that Mike is you know, gonna throw, you know, 100 punches around, whatever. It's the fact that there is intent and 100% effort behind everything he does. And that, even at 58, can, in small instances, make Mike absolutely dangerous. And that may be the title of the video, but that is where we come to the end of this. And again, this is impressive. I don't care what you say about the fight. And again, I'm still sticking with my pick that I do think Jake Paul does get this done, and I think he does it in pretty devastating fashion. There is some doubt that creeps in when you see Mike this committed. When you see him relearning, it's almost like, again, you put him in a coma for 20 years, he wakes up, and still his muscle memory is there, and still his body is still able to do this. Maybe not at that level and not even close to that level, but there is something left in there. This is impressive for anybody, and honestly, impressive for any former boxer. Like, there's not a former boxer alive right now that's 58 that not only is willing to do this, but also probably looks this good. Like, Roy Jones is the only guy that comes to mind that I could say, okay, he probably looks that good. Because I thought he beat Anthony Pettis in their boxing match. But Mike here, again, you can say I'm glazing, whatever. I'm impressed by this. I'm impressed by this. I do, again, let's be honest about it. There are flaws, major ones, if we looked at, you know, his sparring and him just throwing everything behind that right hand. But again, there's a purpose behind it. I get that. It just leaves him open to being cracked on the chin. And that is one of the big things that we're not getting from any of this footage. And that's how will Mike take a punch, because I know how Jake takes punches. I've seen it. Maybe not from heavyweights like Mike, and that'll be a big factor as well, but I've seen that he has a chin. I've seen that he has an ability to take punches going forward or backward, and keep himself in the fight. I don't know that Mike, at his age, still has that legendary Iron Mike Tyson, or as Ariel Helwani would say, Iron Mike Tyson chin that he once possessed. But the question I have for you guys, let me know in the comments section, did I make a mistake here? Thinking Jake Paul was going to make this look easy? Because now, again, I'm not doubting completely, but I am starting to have a little bit of a second thought. You guys let me know and tell me why I'm crazy in the comments, and make sure you guys tune in on Fight Night from Arlington, Texas. Me, my dad, live watch party, guests, excitement, all that. You don't want to miss it on youtube.com/The Concept. But what happens on Fight Night? We're getting closer and closer by the day. I don't have those answers yet. But again, I asked, did I make a mistake? I don't think so, but I guess we'll find out.